That thing right there, the Tone Master FR-12 by Fender, is unbelievably awesome. Finally able to dial it in for my applications. I'm going to go over that today. But first, I want to tell you what's critically important for me before we do this. I need an amplifier to be loud and clean. Loud and clean, not loud and dirty, not loud and broken up. I need it loud and clean, high headroom and clean. The type of music that I play and have played requires a cleanliness, not anything sort of distorted or sort of broken up. That stuff I can add with pedals, but one thing I cannot get a cabinet to do is inherently be clean if it doesn't have that quality. So obviously a Super Reverb has that. That's a Tone Master Super Reverb. I've been using the Tone Master Twin and incredibly high headroom of clean. The Deluxe Reverb that I have, the Tone Master Deluxe Reverb with the Celestians, it's not designed to be clean up until a certain point, but its sweet spot is about 4.5, and of course, what's it supposed to do? Break up. And as you add more volume there on the front end, all you get is a flubbiness. It's not what you buy a Deluxe Reverb for, so therefore I had no illusions of grandeur when I bought it. That's the sound I wanted if I wanted that sound. But with this thing, this is 1,000 watt speaker design that is supposed to provide an incredible amount of headroom. But the key to understanding this is that this is not an amplifier. That is a cabinet. So it's the input that is so important. And I talked about this on an earlier video, and I'm about to share some more about that here in a second as I'm trying to hold the phone here. Another professional video by yours truly. So a few months ago, or about a month and a half ago, I was gifted a Joyo American pedal. And about the same time I got that amplifier. So that allowed me to have this understanding of trying an amp simulator pedal going into a cabinet that's designed to determine the communications and what you're going to get from that combination, amp simulator into a cabinet. So with that in mind, I really enjoyed and do enjoy the American Joyo pedal, but at a higher volume, it simply breaks up just a little too much for me. It's great as an effect, but it just doesn't give me the clean high headroom that I want. But what does is unbelievably the best thing, I'll tell you, and it's this right here. That's the Boss IR-200. If you're not familiar with it, do yourself a favor and get familiar with it. Because since I've added the Boss IR-200 to this, sky's the limit. The clarity has been unbelievable. And let me give you a little bit more background of why I'm needing all this. First of all, I come from a live performance clean amplifier necessity background. I played for almost a decade with the Drifting Cowboys, Hank Williams Sr.'s men. Now, the amount of distortion on Hank Williams Sr. albums, 0. The amount of clean headroom you need, 100%. All the studio work that I've done through the years since the early 90s. Cleanliness is a demand, clarity, because you can always add the dirt. But if you're starting from a place that's dirty to begin with, it's very difficult to clean it up to such a degree that it ever becomes clean, like Fender clean. So, for such a long time, that's the necessity that I've needed. My sources of that have been traditional amplifiers that provided that, Fender Twin in particular. But in the 90s when I started recording in Nashville, mostly demo work, but thousands and thousands of songs that I recorded my guitar on, well, the style of recording back then was direct. You went out of your effects processor directly into a console, and there was your sound. So, you know, my exploration of amplifier and guitar and pedals has been limited up until very recently, because here in the Florida Keys, which now I'm over 1,000 shows here in the Florida Keys since 2016. Playing places that are vast to very small places even, but mostly outdoors, very demanding environment, very nasty environment on your gear. Beautiful place to come be and visit for sure, but salt water and salt air is kind of harsh on your gear. So anyway, for the longest time I've been searching for that combination that would be portable and loud, clean, and somewhat disposable, really, because who in the heck wants to spend $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 on an amplifier to stick it out in harsh environment, in the salt air environment? You know, that's just a nonsensical deal as far as I'm concerned. You know, I'm not only the Coconut Cowboy when I'm here, I'm also the roadie. I'm also the guy fixing my stuff after the show. So, you know, you got to have some sensibility to what you're doing. So when Fender came out with this FR-12 here several months ago, I bought one. This here I've had about 2 months. And the idea was just to explore the opportunities of what I could get from this whole pedal configuration. And recently, I just turned the corner, literally in the last 2 weeks. In the last 2 weeks, I've had 6 shows, which 3 of them have been band shows, full band shows, and 3 of them have been duo. They've been full PA scenarios, trying to reach, you know, 200 people and up, outdoor environments, the necessity to throw volume, sensible volume off the stage, but making sure it was a clean format. Just for me, it's paramount. I don't have a set list. I play 3 to 4 plus hours consecutively without taking a break, with no set list in front of me and just off the top of my head. But it's songs from, you know, Skinner to Van Morrison to Buffett to Hank to the other night Metallica, U2, Nirvana, Collective Soul, my gosh, Toby Keith, I played Ray Price the other night and played some Daryl McCall, and it went from old country to whatever. You know, that's just the nature of the blessing of the music I'm able to play and the people I'm playing for. But now with the addition of this Boss IR-200, these shows that I've played the last 2 weeks, unbelievable. So let's do some stuff here. I'm going to put this down and the holder, hopefully not do anything goofy right there, and give you this. We're going to do a little deal today where we just go through some of the tones. This is, I've not got past setting 1. 001 is a clean Boss sound. You'll have to excuse the 60 cycle hum today. This is a issue in the house, not the guitar or the equipment. So, and of course the single coil, but I wanted you to hear this scenario on a single coil. So I'm going to bypass the cabinet. Now that cabinet's straight up with a little reduction on the treble, straight up on the mid, straight up on the bass, and a tiny bit of cut, which I'm not even sure what that does. I haven't gone into the technical aspects. You just start turning knobs so you get something that you like. So with that in mind, I'm going to, this is the neck pickup. Bypass the IR-200 simply by holding the pedals down to 2 buttons, and then this is the actual straight through signal. Watch how much of a reduction and how much this IR-200 is added. That would be the sound that if you plug this directly in, that's what you get. This is a cabinet, not an amplifier, so it's all predicated and influenced by what you have on the front end of this. So when I realized that the Boss in my research that I was looking for in terms of a clean cabinet, this here in 2021 hit the marketplace, and on many you know, people that do reviews of gear, this thing was the gear of the year for many of these people that do a gear review. And I can see why. It's a small amp in a box, right? I mean, everybody's getting familiar with that. So now the biggest thing that we need is what? A source of sonic transfer. And what's that going to be? Is it going to be in-ear monitors for you? Is it going to be a monitor that's on stage facing at you? Or is it going to be something like I want, which is a speaker right behind me, like an amplifier? And of course, an amplifier without its characteristics, such as a super reverb or a deluxe reverb or a Fender Twin. They are what they are, and they're incredible for what they are. They handle pedals well. So can you get your sound doing whatever you do? Sure you can, absolutely. But this FR-12 design is to be able to interpret a amp in a box translation at a high quality result. And I'm gonna tell you, folks, it's no joke. I mean, the cabinet arrived here for less than $500. The pedal under $3. And now I've got my foundation to add all the stuff on the front end, and you just treat it like it's the front end of your amplifier. It's really cool because you've got the bass, gain, level, treble, mids, and stuff. Do yourself a favor. There's a lot of stuff on this, but I'm not going to go through it because if I need to, I will for you fine folks, and if somebody wants me to, let me know. But there's a lot of stuff that's out there where you can spend 30 minutes where somebody's gone over this like that. But it's just like a very intuitive device for us guitar pickers. It's got knobs and there's a result. Now, I did have somebody ask me how the FR-12 was doing, and ironically, I've just had this epiphany of some sonic paradise here in the last 2 weeks. So I wanted to share this video to let you know the update. Incredible, incredible. So over the course of the rest of the summer, while we're here at our beautiful Florida Keys home, we'll have probably another 25 or 30 shows in between now and August. And I'm going to concentrate my efforts with this. But it's only here recently in the last 2 weeks that I finally get over the hump. And the piece of gear that was the answer was the IR-200. But let's hear a few samples of what it sounds like with pedals going into it. I've made no adjustments on the IR-200 as far as the bass, mids, and trebles. Treble. What I have done is I've taken the level. There's a level and a gain. The level is the overall volume, but it has something to do with the impulse response, the way the signal is treated. So find out a little bit more about that by doing some research on it. But I've taken the level and have cranked that to 100. Now the gain on this, let me back it down just a little bit because I can't see it. Yeah, so the gain's at 82 and the gain goes to 120 on this thing. So, I mean, that's just cranking. I'm going to have to take the 12 o'clock now, bring that down because now I've just made it too loud. And beautifully clean. So now the FR-12 is at like 9. Just a big clean sound. But let's get some dirt sounds here. This is with a Nobles at 9 o'clock on the drive and level at 5. That's with it. Without. Slight breakup, just a little edge. Here's a second Nobles pedal that's on 4 on the drive and level at 3. this. Set the delay off. And boy, you could drive that more. Let's try that. Okay. Make a loop. I'm going to switch the AB switch down to the super reverb. Let's make a loop. You ready? Back up to the FR, excuse me. Clean. Add a little reverb, come on. Nobles. Let's do second nobles. First pedal. No nobles. Front pickup. First, nobles. Crazy there for a second or two, but I want to just tell you, it's a home run for me. It's a grand slam. Finally, the FR-12 Fender Tone Master, in combination with this pedal configuration that I put together 3 weeks ago, actually 2 weeks ago today. Today's a Saturday. It's a grand slam. The key is the IR-200 and the line level signal, not the instrument level signal. This cabinet, not an amplifier, this cabinet requires a line level signal. Do your research. Find out what it's all about. But I will tell you, it is absolutely just a sonic dream, because here's the deal. Unless you're wanting to buy these super reverbs or the deluxe reverbs or the twin reverb, whatever, those inherently have characteristics. And I will tell you, from owning all three of those Tone Master Series amps, for me, you're not going to tell the difference from the originals. Argue all you want to, and that's fine. This is not for an argument. Listen, this is personal experience, and I'm telling you what my ears know, and I have no reason to tell you anything different. Most of your famous guitar players that you love, their amps are not stock, folks. They're modified. If you like any guitar picker in Nashville, Tennessee, from Brent Mason to whomever, they play nothing off the shelf. Every one of theirs amplifiers, those old Fender Twins, or those old Super Reverbs, and those old Deluxe Reverbs, they're all 100% modified to some degree. So when making a sonic comparison to anything that's tube or transistor related, solid state, and for somebody to sit here and tell you that it's very hard to distinguish the difference between this and the so-called real deal, I have no reason to tell you anything else other than the truth. So that's what I'm doing. I'm sharing my personal opinion based upon quite a bit of experience. Take it for what it's worth, and just understand that in this day and age, we're not going back to tubes, folks. You know, companies that are doing all the tube stuff, they want a pretty penny for it. In my application, they're boat anchors. I don't care nothing about it. I'm not spending that kind of money to bring it in an environment like this and, you know, have something happen to it just because of the nature of where I play. And from a sonic standpoint, having something that is in the ballpark, man, it's just great. So I'm all for the solid state replicas of the originals. But with that said, isn't that true for these amp simulator pedals? They sound great in your headphones, but then how they're translating over whatever speaker source that you're using. You got to think about all that kind of stuff. You got to think about what's going on with that. And that's the big deficiency on stage, especially for younger pickers that don't know the difference. You know, if you got this cool amplifier in a box and you got your guitar in a gig bag and you throw that into the little zipper on the side because it fits, and then you fly 500 miles to go play your gig and you plug it in and the sound man gives you some lefts and rights, and all of a sudden you got your in-ear monitors and you got no amplifier. What do you know? What do you know? You don't know anything about sound hitting you from the rear end like the good old days, right? So I want the good old days when I play. I don't want stuff being right here in my ears. I get enough of that by recording all the time, and I don't want it coming back at me from the front, from the monitoring up front. I don't want that. That's just not the nature of how I learned to hear guitar. I've learned to hear guitar ever since being that big and hearing music from behind me as it was going forward to the beautiful ears that are listening to it. So for me, this is a musical paradise, an opportunity. And why? Well, heck, this little device plus whatever ones that you might have as far as an amp simulator, what you're wanting is to get something that is close to what you remember something sounding like from the good old days, right? And I'm saying that for me, if I never get past this first preset, 001, that's what I'm on. I haven't even bothered trying to hear the other stuff through the cab. I have through the headphones. It's not anything I'm looking for, because what I'm not looking for dirt. I'm looking for clean. Then I can dirty up the sound, as you just heard. So for me, it's perfect, just perfect. And this cabinet, incredibly clean, incredibly loud. That's what I wanted, and that's a great starting point for me. I hope this was helpful. And obviously, I'm pretty adamant about what I'm looking for, because this is what I'm blessed to do. So I know what my needs are, and to share them with the few folks that have asked. I've also had a few folks ask me, well, what is it that you do? Well, this is what I do. So that's why I'm sharing this stuff with you. This is one man's opinion in the world. But with that said, it is an opinion that is based on a whole bunch of experience. So you can also add that to the equation. For me, I hope this has helped you as much as it's helping me. This is an incredible foundation, and I hope you've enjoyed this little diatribe of the update of the Fender TR-12, or FR-12, excuse me, and the combination of what I'm using. And if anybody has any questions, please fire away. I'll be glad to answer what I can. It's a little bit of a long video, but it requires that length to provide all the foundation that I hope that was helpful for you fine folks that will watch it and make it this far. God bless you. God bless you and your families. Enjoy the journey, because it's rocking and rolling, isn't it?